what you want. It's a little playground.
I kind of feel pretty powerful. That was the moment. Of course, that's what you are. You're a god.
And let us soar to new heights.
The magic carpet gives you a full sense of just freedom. We all love that. We love the idea of just being able to go anywhere and do anything. Peter sensibly tapped right into that.
Although he would struggle along the way.
He literally was the archetypal sort of struggling artist.
His originality paved the way for others.
Peter likes to push the boundaries. Sometimes you think, my God, how are we going to achieve these things?
This is the story of one of gaming's biggest innovators. This is the story of Peter Molyneux. Before computers were a blip on the horizon, a young Peter Molyneux learns how to play by his own rules. Peter's parents play an early role in shaping his future career.
My mother ran this toy shop, and that sounds, you know, wonderful being a kid. You think you would every single toy known to man. Actually, what it meant is we got all the things that were broken that people didn't want to buy. So we got lots of games without rules in, or Monopoly sets without money. So you just sort of had to kind of make up the rules. I think that had a big effect.
Peter also sees the value of running his own business.
When I was 12 years old, I employed my sister and all her friends to cut people's lawns while I just sat there and watched.
Peter's business sense leads him to start his first company in the exploding market of computer sales.
I came up with this really, really dumb idea. If we could sell floppy disks, on these floppy disks would be some free stuff, like maybe a free game. It was such a stupid idea because no one really wanted floppy disks with loads of stuff on there. If they wanted floppy disks, they wanted floppy disks that were blank. And what I found was that people were paying more attention to the software on these disks than anything else.
And that realization is all Peter needs to put himself on track to designing his first game.
And in those days, you know, you only had to make a game which you could shoot things. It didn't matter what you shot, and it would pretty much well be successful. But I decided instead to do a business game called The Entrepreneur. And I was so completely convinced that this was going to be a great, amazing game that I phoned up the post office and said, I'm expecting a lot of post. I sat by the post box waiting to hear this truck turn up with, you know, tens of thousands of orders. But instead, these two envelopes came fluttering through the door, and I'm pretty sure they were both from my mother.
And a spelling mistake gives Peter the tools he needs to start making games full-time.
I then started up another company called Taurus, and there was this phone call from this company called Commodore and said, you know, we've heard about your company and we're really impressed with it, and we'd like you to come on over and we'd like to present our machine to you and see what you think of it, because we'd love your product on our machine. Just when will your network be available? And it suddenly occurred to me that our company was called Taurus, spelt like the star sign, and there was this other company called Taurus, spelt like the donut. I can still remember it vividly going through my head. There was like an angel and a devil on my shoulders, and one saying, go on, you've just got to tell the truth, you know, you can't lie like this. And then this other voice saying, just lie, get the machines, go to the stand space and just sort it out afterwards. Of course, I ended up lying and saying, yeah, we're going to have your network working in a couple of months' time. We then made the step into making games.
In 1987, Peter founds a new company to focus on making games and calls it Bullfrog. But making a hit game proves to be difficult.
Yeah, I first met Peter when I was about 15 years old. He was really poor, actually. He was really...
We were really running out of money.
He'd have this sort of the same shirt on every day, and he'd be hunched over his computer with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and there'd be cigarette ash all over his computer.
We couldn't really afford the rent.
He literally was the archetypal sort of struggling artist. He was really just trying to get off the ground, and his business was struggling at the time.
This game was slowly coming together. It started off with this landscape. You know, the next thing I thought, well, why don't we put some people on this landscape? So we had these little people moving around, and the next thing I thought was, why don't we have them building their own little houses? And that was fine. Populous was born out of my incompetence as a programmer. This is the absolute truth of it. Because I couldn't work out a routine to automatically flatten the land so that little people could build a big enough house. So I thought, why don't I just get the player to flatten the land? So I had them just build the little land and just wander around the shore, and that gave rise to this thing called exploration, and that they could explore. And that was because I wasn't smart enough to do the code. We played it, and there was this feeling that, hey, we're just moving the land up and down, and I kind of feel pretty powerful. You know, I can sink people in the water, and I can, you know, chuck them out of the house, and, you know, I feel a bit godly. And then that was the moment. Of course, that's what you are. You're a god.
It's definitely the freedom. It's what you can do. I mean, you can be good, you can be bad, you can do what you want. It's a little playground.
But will the gaming world respond as well to such an unusual title?
We got rejected by quite a lot of publishers.